getting the mind going, getting the ability. Um, there's a lot of you out there that are looking on the outward, they're not looking on the inward, and their ability inside of themselves to open their mind. Um, you know, I'm reminded when we're trying to charge our battery, when we're trying to charge our ability, sometimes we have to wait, sometimes we have to be patient, sometimes the programming takes time. Just like I just put a new car battery in my Prius, the 12 volt, and sometimes your body's going to throw codes when you're working on building a regiment. Sometimes your body's going to throw um, things out there that are going to ultimately ask you what you're made of. Um, and there's a lot of times when we're not sure how we're going to overcome those challenges. We're not sure how we're going to have the ability to sit back and understand. And sometimes it's not always about putting the work out. Sometimes it's about putting the mentality in the place to prepare ourselves for the challenges that we face off against. Sometimes it's about putting ourselves in a place where growth can happen, where ability can grow within you, and where your mentality can find its way to you. And just like the car, where it takes time to learn, it takes time to understand and to read the challenges that you're facing, we also take time. We also are like that computer that throws out those check engine codes. We are also like those that are having not always the understanding and not always the tools. For instance, on a car, you could have a check engine code for no reason whatsoever. In life, that can happen to you too. In life, you can need an alignment. You can need an adjustment for, you know, multiple things that you're going through. And the question is, do we give ourselves that kind of space to sometimes study, to give ourselves the ability to rest, to give ourselves the ability to have a mentality that opens our mind to that growth? Or are we trying to accelerate things sometimes when we're not even seeing the results yet? You hearing what I'm saying? Sometimes it's important to sit back and observe. Hello. And sometimes giving yourself that space, giving yourself that ability is what we sometimes need. Well, a lot of us out there feel like rush, rush, rush. Everything has to happen right now. And what if it happens in its own time? What if when we're going through things and as you're going through challenges, you study? What if as your challenges are happening, you embrace your ability to grow? See, the process, the purpose of joy within can light up your world. It can light up your ability inside of you and the space that you have within. And there's many out there that are feeling rushed and feel like they have to have it during that time. Sometimes your mind has to compute. Sometimes your being has to find its way to answer the questions that you're looking for. And many times we are not wanting to give ourselves that ability. I remember being in in a place where I had what I thought at the time was an amazing business owner, and he said, "You gotta fit your shoes." And at the time, I didn't understand what he meant. I didn't understand that you can grow, that you can find the part of yourself where nobody else is willing to go if you give yourself that kind of space, if you give yourself that kind of ability to have mentality to be who you want to be. And, it's a lot of people out there, they look at somebody else's journey instead of focus on their own. They want to have the new thing instead of look at the things that they do have and utilize the tools, the skills, and the abilities that they have in front of them. And it's almost in a sense where those people are either enabling or disabling their minds, disabling their ability within to use what they have to become the person they wish to become, to have the things that they wish to have. And there's many out there that think everyone else has to do it for them. But what about the ability for you to compute your ability? What about the ability to open up so that you are meant for the programming? You are meant for the the hardware and the software in which your creation can be. And so, are we finding growth in our journey? Are we finding growth in our place of being? And I just heard this thing today which was amazing. There's a lot of people who grow up. There's not a lot of people that truly are grown up. You hearing what I'm saying? There's people that are out there like me right now, owning my own company, doing my own pickup. There's others that are out there right now that are working for somebody else's company, doing a pickup. They're not gaining their place. They're not gaining their own momentum. They're not gaining their own ability. And so I look back almost a decade ago and I look back at now and I realize that was growth. It was a part of the purpose of finding oneself, and that it took time to compute. It took time to expand. It took time for the mind to pick up the pace, to pick up the ability. And just like the car that I just put the battery in, that had the check engine code, we're like that sometimes. And we're like that in a way in which our growth comes out. Our ability can find its way for us to have a purpose. We got to be willing to put in the time. We got to be willing to put in the effort, to put in the mentality. And so, are we doing that? Is what comes to my mind. When we are not getting the results, where are you looking? You hearing what I'm saying? When you're not getting the answers that you're seeking, are you looking within for the reflection outwards? Or are you looking outwards for somebody else to do it for you? And it's quite amazing how when we look inwards, we find results in their own due time. We find results in their own due path, their own due purpose. And it's almost like when you can't see it, that's when it starts to happen. When you give it the time, the patience, and the ability, That's when you start to open the mind, and that's when you start to find who you can become. And there's many out there that don't find that part of their path. There's many out there that don't find that part of their purpose. So they'll grow up. They don't truly grown up. You hearing what I'm saying? And it's just quite amazing to me that we live in a time that isn't as hard as it was for those in the 1900s, the 1920s, 1940s. We live in a time when value is magnified times triple. It takes double or quadruple the same to make the same that you would back then. You have to have quadruple that. At one time, $10 in a month was a lot of money. At this time, $10 is not even worth $1 in value. So, are we changing in time? Are we changing in growth? Are we changing in ability? And then not only that, are we also adapting? Are we also putting our mind in a place where we're able to expand, where we're able to find our own answers? And it's almost like a lot of people feel like, oh man, how am I going to achieve this? How am I going to achieve that? You are the answer. You just have to remember your dreams can become a reality. I do hope that you all have a blessed day as always. Namaste.